they understood that it takes time. And they say, for example, that timing the market or time in the market is better than timing the market. This is an investment strategy a lot of folks harp on, especially those that were successful. Meaning that if you were to perform good consistently, even if it's small, throughout the duration of your life, that is better and that will bear fruit for you later on than someone who tries to do the big things occasionally. And a lot of times, subhanAllah, it feels like the little things that we're doing aren't amounting to much. When you look down, further in time, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or whatever that may be, you realize the growth path that you've been on. In a similar hadith from Aisha radiallahu anha, the Prophet ﷺ said, do good deeds properly, sincerely and moderately, and know that your deeds will not make you enter paradise, and that the most beloved deed to Allah is that which is regular and consistent or constant, even if small. So on top of trying to build these habits slowly but surely, the Prophet ﷺ also tells us to focus on doing them properly with ihsan, with itqan, right? Just like you would, if you want to be an expert in anything in life, it takes time, it takes constant effort, and it takes a strong and consistent foundation, right? You have to build it, you have to do the things properly. For example, somebody that wants to play basketball, if he's been shooting the ball all his life and using an incorrect form, it becomes that much harder to correct himself later on down the line. Same thing when we learn the Quran, for example. A lot of times, back home, we might have learned the Quran in a certain way. And it becomes that much harder later on to fix our recitation because we've learned it incorrectly for a long period of time. So the Prophet ﷺ is telling us to focus on doing consistent actions, even if they're small, and making sure that we do them as properly as we can. But now the question is asked. I struggle with consistency. It's something that it never comes easy to me. And this is where we need to understand and try to embed in our lives this idea and this concept of having istiqamah. Right? The only way we can stay true and steadfast upon the things that we want to do in this life is we have to have discipline. We have to have the foresight in knowing that the things we give up now are going to bear fruit later on in life. And a lot of definitions of istiqamah have been given, but one that kind of encompasses all those together is this understanding that no matter what, you try your best to stay upon the right path. Not wavering left or right, not falling to the temptations, not allowing yourself to succumb to shaitan's whispers or the influences of people or the things that are outside of you. And it includes everything from your intentions, from your beliefs, and from your actions. The Prophet ﷺ tells us in hadith from Sufyan where he says, O Messenger of Allah, he's asking him a question. He says, tell me of a word in Islam I will not need to ask anyone after you. The Prophet ﷺ told him, say, I have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then remain steadfast. One of the keys, brothers and sisters, to remaining steadfast and being consistent and disciplined in everything that we do in this life is first and foremost reminding ourselves why we're doing it in the first place. A lot of times people fall astray. People fall off the things that they want to do because they don't understand what their true motivations are. The Prophet told him, tell yourself, remind yourself, put that in your heart as a focus that you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you believe in Allah, if you believe in the one that is always watching over you, the one that is taking care of you, the one that is providing for you, the one that recognizes what you need and knows what's best for you. If you have that belief firmly in your heart, would you ever want to disappoint that person, that one? Would you ever want to go astray? When you're in that moment of struggle and you have that faith, that will allow us to remain steadfast and to be consistent in our actions. And in that, we have to understand that if we know and have that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to know and come back to Him when we go through those periods of struggle. Seeking help from Him. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, and seek assistance in patience and prayer, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us. Another way for us to remain steadfast is to remind ourselves, to take good examples of the people of the past and of the people around you, right? Understanding the struggle that they went through to preserve this religion, to pass it on to you so that you can claim to be a Muslim. So that when you are in those moments of difficulty, you can take inspiration from their lives. And also reminding yourself, ultimately, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that is taking care of you, the one that's watching over you, right? When you know that somebody has your back for something, somebody that's reliable has your back, it gives you the confidence to go ahead and perform that action or do that thing. But when you know that Rabbil Alameen is the one watching over you, who takes care of every single one of your affairs, that will inshallah hopefully allow us and give us the ability to remain steadfast and to commit to performing those actions day in and day out. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran where He says, فَاسْتَقِمْ كَمَا أُمِرْتَ وَمَنْ تَابَ مَعَكَ وَلَا تَطْغَوْا إِنَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. Remain steadfast. He's talking to the Prophet ﷺ, and also obviously us, along those who turn in submission to Allah with you and do not transgress. Surely He is all-seeing of what you believers do. Right? Allah reminds us. Then after this ayah where He says, وَلَا تَرْكَنُوا إِلَى الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا فَتَمَسَّكُمُ النَّارِ, and do not give in, do not be inclined to the way of the wrongdoers, such that you find yourself on the path towards the hellfire. For then, once you reach that point, if we allow ourselves to be deceived, we will not have any protectors from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment, nor will we be helped in that instance. There's going to be times, brothers and sisters, there's going to be opportunities, there's going to be moments in our lives where we have to make decisions. We're going to be at the fork in the road. But if we surround ourselves with the believers, if we surround ourselves with the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with proper belief in Him, that will allow us to remain steadfast and to continue doing the things that we're supposed to do. Ultimately, what that boils down to is having that proper connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that will give us the ability to remain consistent in the face of anything that afflicts us. And we do that in a few different ways. First and foremost, we need to build good habits like we mentioned earlier. Reminding ourselves that good things performed consistently over the long run is going to benefit us more than trying to do these big changes in our lives. A lot of times we don't know the effect that a small deed, a small good deed that we did purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have in our lives later on down the line. They say that you fall to the level of your systems, right? Planning to fail, failing to plan is planning to fail. If you don't sit yourself down, do muraqabah, right? Take account of yourself, do muhasabah, see what you should be doing, where you're at, what you need to be working on. If you don't set things up, whether that's bringing a friend along to help you in your journey, your family, the community, putting those things in place, knowing, your weaknesses and what you need to be doing so that you don't fail, you're going to fail. The human being cannot survive and succeed by himself. And that's the beauty of this religion. We have our brothers and sisters to help us to remain steadfast. But you need to be intentional about putting those things in place to allow yourself to succeed. And then following the example of the Prophet ﷺ, who laid out the blueprint in how we should act and move and behave as a believer. We have a book, we have a revelation, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have the path of the messenger, his example and the example of the Sahaba. All the information is there. Now the question is are you going to pick it up and try to apply it? Are you going to look for inspiration in their stories and in their lives? Are you going to try to emulate them in the same way that we emulate, other people in this world that ultimately won't have benefit down the line when you really think about it? Are we going to do that with the best of mankind? That's a question for us to answer. And as we do that, brothers and sisters, there's a hadith. It's a long one, but I wanted to point out one thing where the Prophet ﷺ says something very interesting. Where they were at a funeral, and the Prophet ﷺ, the Sahaba were sitting around the Prophet ﷺ. And he told them that there is not one amongst you whom a seat in paradise or hell has not been allotted, and about whom it has not been written down whether he would be an evil or blessed person. So the Sahaba hearing this are confused. They're like, "O Rasulullah, should we not depend upon our destiny and abandon our deeds? If that's going to be the case, if Allah knows where we're going to end up, should we just not do the things we're supposed to do, those good actions that we talked about?" What does the Prophet ﷺ respond to that, where he says, "Acts of everyone will be facilitated in that which has been created for him." So what does that mean? So that for whoever belongs to the company of the blessed, if you attach yourself to those who believe, to those who do good, to good company, good works would be made easier for that person. And whoever belongs to the unfortunate will have the evil actions made easier for him. And then the Prophet ﷺ ended this by reciting the ayat, then who gives to the needy and guards against evil and accepts the excellent truth of Islam, we shall make easy for him the easy end. And who is miserly and considers himself above need, we shall make easy for him the difficult end. If we attach ourselves to the people of khair, we push ourselves, we remain disciplined in performing the good actions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises that He'll make it easy for us. And He'll make easy the path to good as we continue to do that. But if we allow ourselves to remain stagnant, to remain heedless, to not take heed from now when we have the ability, the health, the wealth, whatever it is, and we align ourselves to those who are not good for us, Allah makes the path to shar easy. And our end is as we know it will be. If we want steadfastness, brothers and sisters, and to remain consistent and disciplined, we need to surround ourselves with the people of khair. We need to make that solid intention to start doing good day in and day out, but start small. And brothers and sisters, I'm going to end with this, where, a lot of times we see the things happening around us, what's happening in society, in the world, and we despair a lot of times in the actions that we're performing. What does this sunnah that I'm doing have meaning, or this tasbih, or this sadaqah, or whatever it is? Allah reminds us, where He tells the Prophet, قُلْ يَا قَوْمِ اعْمَلُوا عَلَى مَكَانَتِكُمْ إِنِّي عَامِلٌ فَسَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ مَنْ تَكُونَ لَهُ عَاقِبَةُ الدَّارِ إِنَّهُ لَا يُفْلِحُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Say, O my people, persist in your ways, for I too will persist in mine. You will soon know who will fare best in the end. Indeed, He grants no success to the wrongdoers. All the actions that we perform, brothers and sisters, big or small, will ultimately benefit us in the end. I know we see the injustice, we see the things happening around us, and we feel that everything that we're doing doesn't matter. But if we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we trust in Him, and we understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring to justice and will bring to account every single human being for everything that they've done, that should give us motivation to continue doing what we need to be doing. And know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of things at the end. So that khair, that thing that you want to do, that you feel has no immediate impact in your life, it might be the source of blessing in your life or the life of somebody close to you, right? Keep performing, keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, and remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us and will never allow our actions to go to waste. Let's make dua. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا من الخيرات فيما أعطيت، وقنا واصرف عنا شر كل ما قضيت، فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك، فإنه لا يذل من واليت، تباركت ربنا وتعاليت، ولك الشكر على ما أعطيت، واستغفر الله ونتوب إليك. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه، وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين، وأذل الشرك والمشركين، ودمر أعداءك أعداء الدين. اللهم انصر المسلمين في فلسطين وفي كل مكان، اللهم انصرهم ودمر أعداءهم أعداءك أعداء الدين. ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان، ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا، ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، وأقم الصلاة.